Hello, this is Odal, and I am bringing you a video on how to farm Moradin as a level 60 Warlock in WoW Classic. And from what I've seen, I've never done this on private servers, but apparently this is very different. Well, not apparently. From what I've seen, it's very different. So this is my spec. It's Shadow Mastery and Demonic Sacrifice. I have 242 Shadow Power and minor movement speed increase on boots. The minor movement speed increase on boots is mandatory, I think, for 2 of the bosses. But yeah, from what I've seen on private servers, because I made a video on this way back in vanilla. However, I uploaded it to Google videos because that was a thing back then. And I think in about 2011 they stopped having videos on Google videos, and anything that was on there is deleted, so that's long gone. So I'm kind of remaking something that I had in the past. I don't think I had any spoken word in it at all. So first boss we're going to take on is this Tinker Gizlock, and I open up with the Immolate, throw on the dots, and I don't continue the Immolate, I just keep on the rest of the dots and drain tank him. You do want to be a little bit careful though, because his gunshots, as you saw there, did 400 plus damage. And that's the only dangerous thing he does. If he's not doing that, he's usually just breathing fire, which doesn't do anything because he's at ranged. So yeah, it was just a simple drain tank on this guy. He's the easiest of the 3 bosses, and doesn't take too long to take down. If you're curious about my add-on on the bottom right, it's also what is giving me the Shadow Trance procs notifications. It's called Necrosis, which is an old classic add-on. It saves me a lot of button space because I don't feel like having buttons for Soulstone, for example, or Healthstones, except for the on-use Healthstone. But the Create Healthstone is in there. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. It's a great Warlock add-on if you're trying to save space on your UI or on your action bars. Anyways, you'll want to try to get as many soulstones as you can. I'm pretty bad at managing mine. But here I got the gun, which is probably the second best item he drops. And now we're gonna head over to do Rotgrip, which is not too difficult. However, you need a specific technique. I believe I used to do Drain Tank, or not Drain Tank, but Voidwalker Tank back in vanilla. However, it doesn't seem like that's possible now. I don't know if it's different or if my gear is just that much worse than I had in vanilla. Now you can come up to this ledge and pull them from here if you want. However, there's another way you can do this that I'm going to do in this video. It's like a little bit of a safer way to do it in case you don't have the gear yet. So you come up to this ledge all the way to the very tip that you can get as close as you can without falling down, which I've done before. Not very nice. And you just wait for him to pat. This is where the extended reach talent comes in. I don't actually think it's called that, but that's essentially what it is your affliction spells have a longer range. So yeah, you'll want to do the Curse of Doom, and then also Corruption and Siphon Life if you can. Sometimes he moves a little weirdly and moves out of range before you can get both of those on, but the biggest thing is getting the Curse of Doom on there. That's absolutely necessary. And then you come up here, reapply Corruption and Siphon Life if you can. Sometimes you can't quite get the Siphon Life like that, but you should be fine. And then I come up to this little green spot on the ground. This is like my floor marker, and I just kind of wait. For right now, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on that Curse of Doom timer. Once it gets to 0, he'll get close to coming around the corner, and you can start kiting him from there. So this gold farm is roughly about, I guess, 30 to 40 gold an hour. If you got herbalism or mining, or both, preferably, it's very useful to have here because you got plenty of ghost mushrooms you can get. So yeah, I just throw on the Curse of Agony, preferably with your improved buff, because it does get a little bit close. He does get a little bit close, like, to hitting you, and you don't want him to hit you for too long. Like, if you take one hit, you're fine. Once he starts getting like 3 or 4 hits off, it starts getting pretty hard to tank him. Mostly because of he gets a stacking dot that does way too much damage. So yeah, just keep reapplying your dots as you need to. You can try to be careful with these guys, but they don't have that big of an aggro range. So, and especially be careful with these worms on the side, because they like to aggro, and it's very easy to get careless with the aggro. Now, one thing that didn't happen in this run is Rotgrip did not pull one of his little Hydra friends, but if he does, it's fine. Just once you get to this point, you can Death Coil the Hydra and fear him, and Rotgrip is at this point slowed down because he's almost dead, and you can just kite him if you need to. And now we are off to Princess. Just keep an eye out for the pats. None of the mobs that are just in their stationary spots are really dangerous. You can safely walk by all of them at level 60. And yeah, I know that was a problem in private servers, apparently, was the aggro range on some of these mobs, but I guess they were just wrong in how they implemented the aggro ranges on these enemies. Because I do remember being in Classic and just not having any problem with aggro range at all. Now, for Princess, I do feel like when I was doing this in actual vanilla, I feel like she never caught up to me, like hardly ever, if at all. But she does catch up in Classic, and you do want to be careful of that. I keep a Hellstone on me, and she's probably the only reason to have a Soulstone. If your gear is not very good at all, like you're talking like if you're in the low 2000s of health, you're very at risk in this fight, because she gets kind of like a Wrecking Bomb type of thing going on, where she'll hit you 5 times at once if she catches up to you, and that does about 2,000 damage. And if any one of those hits crit, you're probably dead if you don't have more than 2,500 health. So yeah, also be careful with the life tap. I use Curse of Agony here. Partly, it's better DPS than Curse of Doom, but it is a little bit taxing on the mana, because you have to reapply it. It costs, I mean, it costs less than Curse of Doom, but it's only like slightly less. But you have to apply it twice in a minute, whereas Curse of Doom you only have to apply once a minute. It's a little bit easier to use Curse of Doom than to use Curse of Agony. But if you've gotten to the point where your gear is good enough, you'd rather just have the DPS increase and wisely life tap. If you're at range, you're safe to life tap. If you see she's getting close, don't life tap. So as you can see there, she did a bunch of damage. But what you're hoping for is for her to do her little AoE like she just did. Her little AoE fart, as I call it. And I typically don't stop to reapply the dots as long as there's 1 dot ticking on her or more, because she's eventually going to catch back up, and I don't need to risk her hitting me more and more. And yeah, sometimes she likes to go around the rock on that side, depending on how far she is, I guess. And as she gets low on health, she eventually starts to slow down a bit. I believe it's like, I feel like it's 2 stages. Like the first slowdown's not that much, and then once she gets down to like 10% health, she's like at a crawl. Like you're basically running back to her to apply your dots after that point. So here you are safely, just as you can see, she slowed down so much that yeah, I have to run back. And I try to do my soul life, or I mean life soul drain, whatever it's called, drain soul. I try to do that at the lowest possible point because she likes to throw a rock at you if you. So as I log out and reset the instance, you'll see I'm in a group, and I just tab over to my other account, have my other account reset the instance, and log back in. Voila, new instance. Yeah, that's about it for this guide. I hope you enjoyed it, and happy gold grinding out there. Bye.